Hello again, fellow travellers, planet Earth. Yeah, so in regard to the short I just did before about Chiron, the wounded healer, wounded warrior. So for those of you that don't know, Chiron is a mythical character in astrological circles, and if you're into astrology, if you're not, you might learn something, but as I say, it's mythical, but if it fits, and for me it fits. And what I was going to say is, you know, if you can give weight to this stuff if it resonates with you. If it doesn't, just swipe on by. So I'm sitting at a beautiful place here, and I'm just going to get straight into what I have come to learn about this. So a few weeks ago I decided to have my birth chart done. I was going through some stuff, and have been going through some pretty heavy stuff in the last 6 months that, as you will know from my previous videos, was triggered off by a phantom type relationship, a karmic or a twin flame or a soul contract, whichever way you want to spin it. Karmic seems to fit it the most, I think. Yes, I had a lot of my deepest, darkest wounds come up in the last 6 months. It was really painful, and I've had to face some stuff about myself and continue to do that. Those of you that are on the spiritual journey here on planet Earth know that these things come up, and we need, you know, it's never fully done. You know, it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing awakening, an ongoing bringing of the unconscious into the conscious, which is growth and expansion. For me, this is what spirituality really is about. In the past, I've had quite strong views on a lot of the spiritual people that I've seen in the spiritual community, that it's all about the crystals, the cacao, and the ecstatic dances and the boho fashions, and not really a lot of inner work gets done, in my honest, humble opinion. I think there's very few that really go into the depths of it, into the psycho-spiritual realms, and with good reason. It fucking hurts, that's why. And we come to a place where we are, you know, literally standing on the abyss of the universe, all alone. No one there to rescue us. No one there to comfort us except ourselves. It is a real walking into uncharted territory, because that's literally what it is, uncharted territory. This is where, you know, change can come about for us. And it's that old saying, if you keep on doing what you always did, you're going to get what you always got, you know. So if you want different, you've got to do different, etc., etc. So yeah, so back to the topic at hand, Chiron. And yeah, so I had my birth chart done, and it was difficult to do because I didn't have my birth time. And so, as with most astrologers, the person that done it just put me at 12 midnight as my birth time, which I think is common practice. Anyway, she gave me all this reading, and it was all a little bit above my head, but we had lunch and we discussed it, and I'm very grateful to her. And out of this conversation came this character Chiron, which turns out this Chiron is in my Pisces and in my 12th house. And I've come to understand a little bit about what this means. And So yeah, she mentioned this Chiron, and I just, yeah, rightio, I left it. And then a few weeks later, I ended up going to a meditation circle. And at that meditation circle, I was asked to be the guest speaker. So I was talking along, giving my spiel on my spin on things, and I hope the sound is all right on this because it's a little bit windy. So I'll try and put my finger over it a little bit as well. Also, I'm going to turn the camera around so you've got a better view. Hang on a sec. So yeah, I was giving my talk after the meditation circle, and a lady kept mentioning this Chiron, this character Chiron, and so I quizzed her a little bit about it after we'd finished, closed the circle, and we were having a community lunch, so to speak, a shared lunch, and she was mentioning this Chiron character, and I thought, oh, that's right, that lady spoke to me about that a few weeks ago. So from that point on, I was going home, and as I do, I went straight to YouTube and started finding out actually it was the next day. I thought, oh, I wonder what this Chiron thing is, because I'd heard about it a few times now, so I decided to look into it and chuck it on my Bluetooth in my car as I'm driving to work, as you do, or wherever it is you're going. And I listened to this video, which made so much sense to me, so much sense, and it was really informative. And the myth about Chiron is that his father Kronos had a massive desire on this other goddess, Zephyria, I think it is. And she was a nymph. So I don't know what springs to mind when you think nymph, but if it's what I do, I just go, sexy, sensual, nymphomaniac, flirty, maybe that kind of thing. So those are the kind of things that come up for me. I don't know about you. So this dude Kronos really had a strong desire for this, Zephyria, I think it is, and she wasn't going to have a bar of it. She didn't want him. No way, I'm letting you near me. And Kronos' desire overcame him, and he raped this astrological goddess, mythical goddess, and as a result of that, she got pregnant, and as a result of that, she gave birth to her child Chiron. When Chiron was born into the atmosphere, or the stars, or the sky, or however you want to put it, he came out as a centaur, and a centaur is half man, half horse. So he was fully rejected by his mother and by his father. Fully rejected by his mother, which caused a deep wounding in him, which was the rejection, abandonment wound, as we humans experience as well, whether it's a big trauma, a big T trauma, or a little t trauma. And so he was abandoned and rejected outright by his mother. So he became an orphan, and he had this horrible wounding of abandonment and rejection. So he was adopted by another god called Apollo, and what Chiron discovered or found out was something about his unhealable wound, which was the abandonment and rejection. It was going to be there, or has been there for eternity. No, so I might just add that this Chiron character was only discovered in 1977, so by humans, and that's not to say that that's when it started, obviously, but that's when he was discovered as an asteroid in the sky by a man back in 1977. So yeah, he was adopted by Apollo, and he went through his life with this massive wound of abandonment and rejection. There was also this other guy in the picture, Prometheus. Now Prometheus had apparently done something and was destined to be banished and hung up somewhere alive and have his liver eaten out for all eternity. He was sent there by Zeus, the god Zeus, and so Chiron decided to go to, because he knew that his fate was to be in this everlasting pain of rejection and abandonment. And I believe the story is that he went to Zeus and asked that he may be able to take Prometheus' place. So Zeus allowed this to happen, and then Chiron then took his place, and Prometheus was free to go. And so there Chiron was hung or banished to ever to have his liver eaten out on a daily basis and living every single day like a Groundhog Day. But there was also discovered that there was a potion or an elixir was created by, I'm not sure who the other person was, but Chiron was responsible for concocting an elixir or a concoction of some sort that would heal certain wounds, or most wounds actually. I think every wound, to be honest. And so the wound was concocted, and he dipped an arrow into it, and he had a helper as well. So this arrow was accidentally shot into Chiron himself. How this is all supposedly, and the timeline is, I'm not actually sure. Yeah, I think he begged to swap places with Prometheus via Zeus. He did this after he'd made this concoction, this healing concoction, very powerful, very potent. And so while he was making that concoction, he dipped an arrow in it, or another character did, accidentally let the arrow go, and it landed in Chiron, and the healing elixir had the opposite effect, which meant that he would be in everlasting pain for the rest of his life, but he would have the power to be able to heal other people, and that was the only way that he was ever going to find any kind of relief, which is, spiritually speaking, a paradox. We're not unfamiliar with paradox and how that works. It is the typical surrender to win, you know, accept you're beaten and you'll win the battle, so to speak. So it was after this being stung by his own arrow that Chiron wanted to change places with Prometheus. So I hope this is making a little bit of sense as I try to relay what I know or what I've come to learn. So I strongly identified with this character, Chiron. It made a whole bunch of sense to me, especially considering my own spiritual journey and how I've always felt that I don't really belong. I've always felt this undercurrent of that I'm very, very alone in this world. A deep sense of insecurity. My abandonment / rejection has played out in every single relationship I've ever been in. I've been married 3 times and divorced 3 times, and I was going to get married a 4th time, but that didn't happen. And the common denominator in all of those relationships was yours truly. So my spiritual journey has been, my human existence has been a really, really painful one, and I've had a lot of distortions about the truth about who I really am. It's been really difficult to accept the fact that I am infinite and eternal, whole and complete as I am. I've found that, I've found it difficult to find a real sense of belonging and peace within me, and I've spent virtually my entire life looking outside of me and reaching outside of me, whether that, in my particular case, it was with a great deal of booze and a great deal of drugs, and it took me, to homelessness many, many times. Anyway, I strongly identified with the explanation that I got about this Chiron, and you're welcome to leave a comment or PM me on my Facebook socials. I have I think it's a public account, yeah, and my name is Dave Parbury, and I'll happily send you the link about this Chiron, because it really opened me up. It was literally like someone had put a key, and one of the symbols for Chiron is a key. It was like someone had put a key right into my crown chakra that went right down into my root chakra, right through even into the earth, and they turned this key, and it just really unlocked me. It really felt like, wow, I really get this, man. This is it. Like, it felt to me like when I listened to this Chiron video that I saw on YouTube, it was like it explained my entire existence to date. It was really opened me up. I was really astounded by it, and I have been since I found out about it. So yeah, and the upshot of all of that is that I realise now that one of the only ways that I'm ever going to feel really whole and complete and fulfilled is and healed in my own wounding is that if I do what I can to be a healer for other people. Now, that word healer is not something that I take lightly, but it is a part of me that I want to embrace, and I want to own it within me. I've helped a lot of people in the past without really claiming that kind of title, healer, but now, yeah, I'm beginning to embrace it more, and I want to use my experience and my gifts of, I believe, communicative articulation to be able to get a message across, and it works in that paradoxical way. As much as I keep trying to help and heal other people, is where I will get my own healing and relief, or sense of belonging and completeness. Even though my experience is, it's, I could do this today and feel like I've done my part, and hopefully someone will get healed, or feel like they're seen, heard, validated, because I am really open to talking with anybody about anything really, and getting down to the nuts and bolts of it. But as I've said, I don't really believe that a lot of people, even in the spiritual community, want to go to those kind of depths. But for me, that is the point of spirituality. that is the point of consciousness for me, is expansion and growth. And you know, like you, I don't always want to look at this shit. You know, I have two sisters that say, why do you go so deep, Dave? Why do you go so deep into it? And it's just how I roll. I don't know how sort of not to. And maybe that is something that's part of my healing. Well, it is actually, because the last 2 weeks for me have been very much about really getting into my body, just really embodying all the feels, and stop using my head so much, and just be with my body and really drop into that. And you know, I believe that our bodies have such great wisdom for us, such great wisdom. And you know, every cell, every platelet, every bone, every marrow, every sinew, every muscle within our body, which are my belief is the temple of God. You know, I am source consciousness, I am source in a human meat suit. And so my body has innate wisdom within it. And the other night, I wonder if you can picture this a little bit, is if you've ever seen on a microscope or any kind of movie or YouTube video, say the stalk of a plant up nice and close, and how they do this footage of it, and time-lapse photography, and you can see all the little hairs on the stalk open up to nature and draw in food or all sorts of things. And if you can visualize that sort of thing, and I think that our bodies are like that. I have all these little hair follicles all over me. I have my pores, all these things that draw in from my outer experience, and from the quantum field. So the other night I really drew in on this, and you know, really called on my body to draw in the wisdom from the quantum that is of my higher self, that is from my higher self, to help me with some certain things that I was facing on the day, in that period of time. And that is now how I see my body, as a, you know, I've really taken that on board, that you know, my body can draw stuff in from the quantum field and give me the wisdom and the insight that I need to whatever it is going on in my life, which is all a projection from the inner, you know, as within so without, etc., etc., as above so below, and so on and so forth. But I believe that you'd understand what I mean. If you're on a spiritual bent, you'll get that, you'll understand that. If you're not on a spiritual bent, you probably would have stopped watching this ages ago. Anyways, so yeah, now, so that's my little bit of insight about Chiron. And as I say, please feel free to reach out or leave something in the comments if that is something that you'd like to know more about. But I wanted to talk a little bit about porn addiction too, and I wanted to I'll actually turn the camera around now and face this, so that I'm, you know, being authentic and disclosing in a humble yet truthful, maybe shocking kind of way. Yeah, so I've had major issues with pornography my whole life. I'm 60 now, turned 60 a couple of months. Ever since I learned about it, and you know, when I was 12 or something like that, used to go into the dairy, as they're called in New Zealand, which is a milk bar in Australia, or just a shop that sells milk and bread and canned goods, etc., magazines, etc. I remember seeing Playboy magazines on the shelf and was curious about that, and So as with many young boys, you know, I was very curious about that, and it was not something that was talked about in my home. I was brought up in a family. My dad was a priest. We were very heavily involved with the church, and the kind of sex stuff, as far as sex education, that was just something that I heard behind the bike sheds at school. And I never had the birds and the bees talk with mum and dad. It was all sort of second hand. So there was a lot of shame, a lot of not shame, well, the shame came later, but there was very much a hiding of my sexual self, and yeah, I became quite into the porn, and you know, pursued porn, and as you know, it's gotten harder and harder over the years. Pardon the pun. It's gotten harder and harder over the years, and it is very much a fantasy world where a man or woman can indulge in the fantasy of having the kind of sex that they want to have, that has no consequences, very few. Well, it does have consequences. It has consequences on the psyche, on the soul, on the physical body as well. If you know anything about the semen retention stuff, or a man's seed being his chi, his power, and the same with a woman as well, I presume. So yeah, a lot of the porn stuff is done behind closed doors. It's hidden, it's secretive, you don't want to be found out, don't want people to know that you're doing it. Really can lock you up into quite a small world. And yeah, I'll just say that my porn addiction was pretty, you know, full on. It was full on. I eventually went for a little while to a 12-step program called Sex and Love Addictions Anonymous, and I found out a lot about myself there as well, especially around stuff like romantic obsession, limerence, love addiction. All of these stem from, you know, that wound within me that I was talking about before. And yeah, so, you know, and the porn gets pretty grubby, obviously. It gets pretty filthy, and so it stands to reason that one might have a lot of shame and guilt around that until now. And I'd love to tell you that I'm completely free of porn, but I do indulge sometimes, and I justify it by using the word tantra in my searches, and so it's kind of a soft porn in a way. I'm a single dude, and sometimes you might be saying I'm not surprised, but the truth of the matter is I've had a lot of wounds, I've had a lot of trauma, I've had a lot of stuff I've had to deal with and am dealing with. And you know, it is the proverbial layers of the onion, and it takes time. You know, one breathwork session, or one yoga session, or one ayahuasca trip, or one DMT trip, or one counselling session, or one sound healing is not gonna, you know, it's not gonna sort me out unless I had an amazing amount of faith, which I don't. But yeah, I'm just going to check the time on this too, because I don't want to overdo it, and I also want to check back that the sound is coming right, so that you know that you're getting the sound all right. So anyway, yeah, I rarely watch porn these days, because I know the psycho-spiritual effect that it has on me. I understand about my own chi. Yeah, but I'm human and I fuck up sometimes. But more importantly than the disclosure is what I wanted to really say about that is, for me, the porn is very much about connection in a very literal sense. Cock, vagina, cock, arse, cock, mouth, and that kind of connection. And it's also, in the past, 99.95% of the time for me in the past was about an unusual kind of empowerment for me, because I have felt so emasculated and disempowered in my life. And so the kind of porn that I used to watch was somehow, put me in a position of power. And I was in control. So I've disclosed this in good taste, but the real pieces there are about the connection and the disempowerment or emasculation, which is the pieces that I've had to do a lot of work on. So there's lots of things that we can do for recovery, and I've even got a name of the person that does the therapy for helping men and women, couples, whatever, recover from porn addiction. Now, I just want to end it on the fact that porn addiction, don't take it lightly, it's no joke. It's a serious thing. It has far more effect on your psycho-spiritually and physically than you would think. And it's been an interesting journey for me down that road. And I hope that my honesty about this is not offensive to you. I'm just trying to own up to my shit, man. You know what I mean? My karma, and clean up my karma. And yeah, I can see how all this unconscious stuff, pornography, and all this abandonment and insecurity, it's in my unconscious mind, was really played out and caused major harm mainly to myself, mostly to myself and to other people. And as I say, I'm really trying to clean up my karma about that. So I'm just going to give you one more little glimpse of the view that I'm looking at now, and then I'm going to turn it back around and end the video. But from my heart to yours, from my mind to yours, I hope you might have got maybe something out of this, and I'm open to talking openly with anybody that might want to chat. It's all the truth. What is spoken from the heart reaches the heart. And yeah, I'll just turn you around for a sec. Enjoy that beautiful view. And as usual, rock on, peace out, love your work. Have a good day, see ya.